All right. Right about now, we get to talk about the state of the Nigerian nation. And of course, the man in charge right now of the Nigerian nation and the Nigerian people is Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, former senator, former governor, politician to the core. And he is the number one at this time, and people will always call him to question, actually. Of course, on his lie at the end that wears the crown. So he made promises. We started this conversation yesterday, which you are trying to see into his scorecard, and we usually do that here, randomly, occasionally, for us to know if actually our lives are getting better as a people. And of course, journalists are virtually, possibly, the only set of people, professionals, that has that, guarantee constitutional backing of speaking truth to power, asking government officials, people in charge of one thing or the other, what they have done, what they are doing, what they intend to do. They have that constitutional backing. And we're going to exercise that again this morning. So the general question is, as you're watching me right now, you will later, is your life better under Tinubu? And of course, taking into consideration many metrics, 3 years ago, or May 29, 2023, or May 28, 2023, where were you? How were you doing? Really, and this is not anything emotional or sensational, the difficult decisions that these government has taken according to them, the reforms, the economic reforms, stoppage of the payment of petroleum subsidy, the floating of the naira, institutional reforms, as they say it. So we look through that in education, in health, in human capital development, in the GDP. Where are we right now? Budget performance, there was a conversation around it just a few weeks ago when MDAs and those in charge were at the National Assembly to ask for whatever they need for this year. And even some are saying 2024 budget, 2025 budget, overlapping into 2026, and all of those things. How about anti-corruption fight? We had that talk yesterday. How about the state of the nation as far as security is concerned? How about the welfare of the citizens, the civil service, your payment of remuneration, and all of those things? And we look further into that this morning. We will be speaking with a social commentator, a satirist, by the way, and a critic, somebody passionate about what is going on. He has a way of doing his thing, and he joins us this morning. And Mark Chidiebere Justice joins us virtually. Good morning, Justice. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning. Nice to be with you this morning.
Good to have you join us. You're making your debut this morning, and it's good we start with the topic of how are the lives of the Nigerian people under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What were his promises? What has he been able to do? And this says nothing emotional, nothing sensational, nothing about political leanings. It's just as it is. Yesterday, we started from the place of education and the fight against corruption, and we look into security as well. I'll just take one of those pointers, then we look into other things. Let's start from education, this morning for you, because you're a young person like myself, quite, possibly very passionate about education and what the future holds. The president and this administration has been able to pride themselves to say, we have done the best that we could, seeing to the welfare of students, the NEL fund, as far as, student loan is concerned. So everybody deserves a chance at education. Let's give you something to work with. Then when you have graduated, you have a payment plan to pay back to the system so that it can continue. That's on one side. They created something like that for the lecturers as well, to say there is a pool in which you can access up to 10 million naira based on your cadre as higher institution, lecturer, and all of those things, interventions. Just yesterday, we reeled it out that 4 billion naira has been earmarked for, I think, 12 technological inclined universities in Nigeria, 4 billion naira each. This morning we read it in 6 centers. There is a kind of intervention, AI, robotics, and all of those things how will you rate education under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, those that fell under the cadre of the federal government?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. First of all, generally, as the topic of this program implies, the president, when he took over in 2023, he made a promise, and which I can tell you that he has kept some. And I'll give you the one. He said he will widen the tax net, and he will reduce the purchasing power, and which he has done. He has reduced the purchasing power and widened the tax net. Now, going to education, what has it done in education? The net fund and all that. Now, it is good to create a student loan for people to, to access the loan, for students to access the loan and all that. But the question we should be asking here is that, what is the welfare of the students and those teaching the students, the lecturers? Now, let me take you back to in 2025, around September and August, September, the lecturers went on strike, which is ASU. They went on strike, and most of their demand was some of their backlog salaries were not paid. Some who were due for promotion were not promoted. And when you talk about those things, you're talking about in a country where the budget for campaign is more than the budget for school. Now, you mentioned that 5 billion naira was released and all that. Have you gone to check the budget for the president traveling? I mean, you cannot say you are doing a lot in education when you are putting 5 billion and in your traveling and every other thing in cars, SUV, even maintaining tires in Aso Rock, you are spending up to 300 billion. It does not make sense. So now, if you want to really evaluate their impact in education in Nigeria, I think let's start from the basic education.
Right.
Go to the rural areas. I will tell you, in FCT that I live in Abuja, most of the primary schools or secondary schools owned by government in Abuja are in very bad state. It's in a very bad state. Let's go basic, because that is the only way you can at least measure the impact of the government in education. If you go to Abuja, I'm not talking about the most rural areas. I'm talking about somewhere like Prince and Princess, places like Gwagwalada, places like Galadimawa. Go to the primary, you see schools without roof. You can't talk about education without those ones. Teachers were on strike in FCT, Federal Capital.
So I'm so sorry to butt in, so that we get it right. The primary education, it's not really under the federal government. It's under state primary education boards. So if you're talking about that, it is the FCT that should be questioned, not the federal government.
Still under the Ministry of Education.
Yeah, at the state level.
So that's what we're talking about. If the state level is not doing well, so how do you evaluate it to the federal government? The state is doing bad. Are they not under the federal government? That is what we're talking about. You have to start from the basic. You have to start from the basic. It is the basic. The basic is very, very important. You can't get to the state of getting to what they call it, to access the net fund, the loan, and all that, if you did not pass through the basic. If you did not go through primary and secondary school, how will you get to the university so that you can access the loans and all that? So that is it. So the basic is even not, is nothing to write home about.
All right. While my colleague is right about what he said, well, it is part of his promise, at least the 10-point promise that he made, and that's on number 9. He said, make basic healthcare, education, and housing accessible and affordable for all. But now let's go to number 1 and some others right there. He said, build a Nigeria, especially for our youth, where sufficient jobs with decent wages creates a better life. And I'll take you to another one where he also said, embolden and support our young people and women by harnessing emerging sectors such as the digital economy, entertainment and culture tourism, and others to build the Nigeria of tomorrow today, where he also said, train and give economic opportunity to the poorest and most vulnerable among us. We seek a Nigeria where no parent is compelled to send a child to bed hungry, worried whether tomorrow shall bring food. Your youth, and most of the things I've touched on are youth-based and also women-centered, talking about parents, talking about economy, transformation in all of this, so that food, something as basic as food, is affordable by parents and that no child goes to bed hungry. I ask you, as a Nigerian living in Nigeria, who also has the realities that are laid in this point, you know, touching on you every single day. I don't know if you're a parent, but at least you also eat. You have neighbors, you have colleagues, you have friends, you have parents, you have, you know, family members. How well has he been able to make good on the promises, you know, that I just reeled out? How well?
Well, I can tell you that if I should rate them in 10, I would say they've not even done half. I would rate them 3, because you said you want to build an economy where no child goes to bed hungry. I'm a father. I have kids. Before the administration took over, my daughter's school fees used to be between 200,000. I can tell you now, it tripled. I'm paying almost 700,000 naira now, because the school need to increase. Everything increased, like fuel price and everything increased. They need to also increase the staff salaries and all that, which will come back to me, the consumer. Now, let's go to the market. The things we could afford, that average man, let's just say a tuber of yam, they could afford at maybe 500 naira before, it is probably 1,005 now. He has done terribly in that. People now go to bed hungry. They go to bed hungry. A father of 5, I don't even know how they survive. Imagine a man receiving salary of minimum wage, let's just say 70,000 naira or 75,000 naira. How will he pay school fees? How will he feed the children? How will he do that? I can tell you right now with some proof that living on loan. Many are living, they don't even have enough. They live on minors. They are living on loan, especially civil servants who do cooperative and all that. So what they do is, before the salary comes in, they've already spent the salary. Some needed to drop their children from the normal school before and put them in a school they could afford. So life reduced. People cut budgets. Even no matter how you cut the budget, it's still not enough. Some people have to withdraw their children from school. I have a neighbor that have 3 children in university. 2 have to drop for 1 to go. That is, in that aspect, they failed. When people need to adjust their daily meal, if you eat 3 before, say, please, let's manage 2. Transportation increased because fuel price has increased. Yesterday, which was today is 4th of March. Yesterday, 3rd of March, fuel increased by 100 naira, which is almost the price that he met. This administration made the fuel price. They made the fuel price at 165 to 200 before this administration took over. So imagine when a price of fuel went up more than 300%. Everything went up, and most salaries did not go up. Salaries did not go up. The only salaries that went up is the legislators' salaries and all that. You see the doctors protesting. Do you think they just want to protest? It's because their salaries cannot even meet their daily demand, their daily needs, their needs anymore. Because people are living on minor. See, if you really want to understand this, go to the market and see how people now. There's this fish that said this shower and all that. When shower is now in high demand in the market because people need to put protein in their food because they cannot even afford the usual quantity of meat they could buy before. They now go to the smaller ones. So they failed. That's why I want them 3/10.
All right. the most prevalent of these issues that we're grappling with in Nigeria, apart from the economy, is insecurity. And then he made a promise towards that as well. And he said, and most importantly, that is on his agenda, establish a bold and assertive policy that will create a strong yet adaptive national security architecture and action to obliterate terror, kidnapping, banditry, and all other forms of violent extremism from the face of our nation. So far, we're still grappling and battling with the issue of insecurity. Twice now, he has changed his, the service chiefs. He has been talking about this security thing over and over, especially with the intervention of the United States of America and all of that. And many people would say, until the United States decided to wade into this matter, the president was sort of, silent about this, this insecurity issues and all of that. We've had multiple cases of kidnapping of school children, especially. We've had killings, we've had all of those. How would you talk about insecurity? Is the president really on this mat, on top of the situation? And then, with the intervention of the United States, do you see a way forward, a green light somewhere?
Well, let me repeat this again. The responsibility of the government is to protect lives and property. Protecting life is number one priority, should be the number one. The reason why I'm saying should, because this government has not made it a priority. Should be the number one priority of any government to safeguard life. See, it is sad to say that we now live in a country where people's life is now a mere headline. When that's 20 people were killed there and everybody continued and nothing happened. Let me tell you, in aspect of security, this government own Nigerian points. In fact, it is -10 because they own Nigeria points. They've performed terribly, horribly. Now we live in a country now that you cannot drive interstate without being scared. Okay, look at what is happening in Kwara State. You cannot tell me that some armed men entered a community, took their time. According to eyewitness, they took their time from house to house, entering people's house, bringing them, unaliving them, killing them. And when it was time to go and do their religious prayer, they took a break. They went to pray and came back, continued the killing. And that took more than 4 hours. So you tell me that for 4 hours, there's no response. Even the villagers, people were making calls. Nobody, not even a police helicopter, could fly to that place. See, from Abuja to Kwara State, a military helicopter cannot spend more than 45 minutes to get there in a rush and in an emergency situation like that. No emergency response. Nobody got there till they took their time, killed everybody. Now we live in a country where bandits will go to a school, kidnap 200. Do you know what is 200? Do you know the bus capacity? The highest Marco Polo bus, all those luxurious bus, is 72. Highest it can carry 72 passenger. That means they need like 3 of that to kidnap girls. And which road did they pass? Did they disappear? It's wow. So when you hear those things, you ask yourself, how? Now we have a in this same country, somebody will tweet from his house and insults the president's wife, and within 48, it's not even up to 48 hours. Within 12 hours, the DSS will arrest him. But we're in a country where a bandit will go live on TikTok and do giveaway. A bandit will go live on TikTok, but I will go live on my TikTok and say something bad about the first lady and I will be picked. So it's either the government is in collaboration with the insecurity or the place there fear, because you cannot tell me that from the inauguration of the president till now, the next week they started campaigning for the next election. What is important to them is how to get back to the office and not to protect those who allegedly or something put them into the office. If the people elected you, why not to protect the people? The biggest and the best campaign you can do is to save life. not spending money to convince the people that they should vote you or bring you back to power. Save them, do what that is, save their life first. Somebody reached out to me yesterday, a lady reached out to me yesterday and was crying bitterly that her family was kidnapped in Kaduna State. Her family was kidnapped in Kaduna State. She said the kidnappers came into their community, moving from one house to the other, came into their family house, kidnapped her brother, her brother's wife, their 8-year-old child, and their sister-in-law. As I'm talking to you now, the kidnappers are requesting for 100 million. When this person reached out to me, I said, what can I do? Have you reached out to the police? He said, yes, they reached out to the police. Police said there's nothing they can do. If the police cannot help you, if the army cannot help you, then who can help us?
All right.
Who?
Now, on this matter, because we are on the home stretch right now, and many will want to agree with you to say insecurity is more of a big challenge, more like an Achilles heel of this administration, maybe among many other things, an albatross that many will say maybe they have tried. In fact, some of their supporters have said no administration as of recent has neutralized bandits and kidnappers and insurgents as the Bola Ahmed Tinubu's team. Money Podcast was it last week or last 2 weeks? Sheilo, a comedian, was seen saying the government has done a lot, even when he said, that insecurity didn't just start right now. Quite an insensitive and, terrible statement, although he apologized for that to say he didn't mean it that way, but then he's very sorry about that. But he maintains that the government has really done well. I had to push Sheilo in because I know you are in that space as well. You use satire a lot in conveying your thoughts and all of those things. But my question exactly is this: why the insecurity matter there, and we need an urgent and fast response that will be continuous on this matter, not just pocket of intervention, either from the US or from the Nigerian military. Will you say in clear conscience that something really good hasn't come out of this administration, really, to look about? So, because this money is about, are we enduring the reform right now, or is the Nigerian state or the administration taking people's patience for granted? That's the conversation. So we need to highlight. While we are highlighting, you are highlighting the problems, will you say there's nothing like one or two good from this administration since Bola Ahmed Tinubu took over? And I'd like you to speak to that.
When you write an exam, the pass mark starts from 55%. Anything above 50, that means you've passed. And when somebody is scoring 20%, it means the person has failed. So when you have 100 things to do and you're able to get maybe 10 or 20 right and leaving the remaining 80 bad, you failed. I'm
not even talking about the, excuse me, I'm not even talking about the grading right now. I'm saying maybe there are one or two things that you can highlight, that you have seen beyond the issues that you can credit to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if you can identify one or two.
Well, one of the things, I see this question, I'm trying so much to crack my head to think, okay, what? Okay, in FCT, maybe that one is the state, that is not federal level. What has the president really done?
Nigeria is beyond the FCT, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm trying to crack my head around that. Okay, what has it really done? I can't place my hand on anything, because when you are in pain, you think nothing but pain. When you are hungry, you think nothing aside that hunger. Even if there is any other thing positive happening around, it is that pain that your body, your senses is focused to be. You'll be focused on that pain. So an hungry man will not think of any other thing apart from food. An insecure man will think nothing but safety. So trying to think of, is there any other thing they've done right? I can't place my hand on anything right now. I can't. I can't.
All right. Very soon we'll be heading to the polls, and then you're one of those, I mean, who is very close to people. I mean, you just talked about someone who was relating her experience, you know, with a kidnap situation with you. And I'd like to ask you, in light of recent happenings in the 3 years of this administration, and we're heading to the polls soon, what are your, you know, what are your takes on some of the things that have happened on insecurity on the economy? How do you think that the people are reacting? And what do you think people are taking to the polls?
Well, first of all, talking about the next election, we've been at the forefront trying to push for real-time transmission of electoral results. At least let's have a transparent and credible election. That is important. Another thing we need to highlight is that Nigerians has been struck with hunger, which this government has weaponized hunger, where they can give people as much as bag of rice or as low as bag of rice, maybe 5,000 naira to vote and other, which is illegal. Now, Nigerians going to poll in 2027 is about our life. It is about life. Because when the people vote and the vote of the people actually reflect what they voted, then the people can beat their chest and say that, yes, we did this. But if the vote does not reflect the people, if the result of the vote does not reflect what the people voted for, that is the situation we are in today. You can hear people saying that, oh, we didn't vote for you, we didn't do this, that. To avoid that, that is why we are calling for transparency in the results. And let me tell you, the next election, many people have lost hope. We can use the FCT to use as a case study. People did not turn out. And that is because there's no confidence. Why am I coming out to vote?
All right.
There's no confidence.
Thank you so much. We're totally out of time. We really do appreciate your, your show on the program today. Thank you for your input and your take, Chidiebere.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, dear viewer, that's the show. That's the size of the program. It has been quite insightful from the first conversation and now to the second, where we talked about the reality of things in Nigeria and what Nigeria takes, to the polls the next election season. My name is Temitope Achichola Oluwaola, and until tomorrow, I will see you again. Be on the good side of the law.
Very important. Femi Ojo is my name. A big shout out to everyone that has worked with us in today's production. Be on the good side of the law, but in whatever you do, please stay alive.
Stay alive.
See you tomorrow.